Hello everybody, my name is Brayden, this is Airless Quill 9, and in today's video I wanted to do another special homebrew video. This is my showcase for how I updated the Path of Wild Magic Barbarian subclass. So kind of wanted to show everyone what I did for that in my games, because my group has switched over to the 2024 rules revision for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Just a lot easier to say 5.5 nowadays. But yeah, I just wanted to showcase what changes I made to Path of Wild Magic so that you guys can play around with my version of the subclass if you want to when you play Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, I'll go ahead and get straight to it. First off, I just want to point out that I actually changed the name of the subclass itself. Path of Wild Magic is fine, but I kind of feel like whenever if WotC ever gets around to revising the subclass, they will likely give it a name change, because they probably will want it to be slightly different from the Wild Magic Sorcerer, and that's kind of what the subclass is based off of anyway. So I kind of wanted to give it its own unique identity, so I gave it a slightly new name because I wanted it to really exemplify what the subclass itself is based off of, and that is the Wild Surge table whenever you enter your rage. So that's why I gave it a slight name change. I also gave it a little epithet, channel rage to unleash chaotic magic, and I updated the text for it slightly, or really just condensed it and made it a little bit clear about what the subclass does. Mostly just take out all the extra fluff, which is really what WotC does when they update these subclasses. So that's the real change there. But first I want to showcase the first major change that I did, and that is I completely got rid of magic awareness. It just isn't very useful as a barbarian. Essentially all it is detect magic, which is a fine spell. It does exactly what you want it to do, but it doesn't really fit the utility of a barbarian in any way, and it's kind of just there in the subclass to begin with. So I wanted to add something that was kind of a little bit more useful and really built off of what the subclass is supposed to manifest. So I gave them a new level 3 feature called Spell Ward, and this is a pretty simple feature. It just states that whenever your rage is active, you manifest a 10-foot emanation of unstable energy that surrounds you for the duration of the rage, and it grants you and your allies in that emanation a bonus to saving throws against spells equal to your rage damage bonus. So this will start at a simple +2, and eventually it'll go to a +3, and then eventually a +4. So it's not a huge defensive bonus, and it only applies to saving throws against spells, so it's very minimal and very situational. So I felt like this was a pretty minor upgrade, and it kind of just gives a nice little defensive benefit to this particular subclass. I felt like they should have something that made them a little bit more defendable against spells in general, since that's kind of the this whole subclass is based around chaotic magic. So I felt like this was a cool feature, and it also kind of harkens back to what the Path of Wild Magic Barbarian gets in Baldur's Gate 3. They have a special ability that is called Magical Awareness, but it lets them add I think it lets them add a +2 to a saving throw against a spell like once per day, which isn't often, so it's not that great. But I felt like I could use something based off of that, and this is kind of what I came up with, was the spell ward features. So yeah, it's a pretty minor beneficial property, but it will come up occasionally, so I felt like this was a fun addition to the subclass itself. Now let's go ahead and get straight into the bread and butter, which is the Wild Surge table. So I have made a number of changes on this, very slight changes actually. The real major thing that you'll notice is that the saving throw DC now scales off your strength modifier instead of your constitution modifier. And really the main reason I made that change is because the Barbarian is just based entirely off of strength more often than not. And there are examples of how they have changed some subclasses to scale off of the main ability score of the classes, and they've done that with quite a few of them. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but I know that there were examples of this in the player's handbook that they made this change. So this just felt like a natural change to me. And since Wild Surge is scaling off of, or it's dependent on you using your rage, I felt like it would make a lot of sense if it now was dependent on your strength modifier, since that is the main ability of the Barbarian. So that is why I made that particular change. So that's a small minor change that will kind of just improve the saving throws for a lot of these Wild Surge abilities. So I felt like that was something fun that I could do, and now it's really beneficial for you to focus on your main ability score so you can get that to scale with your character. The next major change I did was I changed the table from a D8 to a D12. I didn't really have a big reason to do this. I just felt like the D12 is such a important part of the Barbarian that it just felt kind of natural to do something like that. Because I mean, the hit point die is a D12 on Barbarian. It used to be that well, Barbarians most of the time will focus on using their great axe, which is a D12, so it kind of just felt natural for them to have a D12 table, which is kind of why I did this particular change. So that is the reason I have a D12 table now, and it allowed me to kind of branch out and add some additional magical effects for the Wild Surge table. So I kind of had some fun with that. So let me go ahead and talk about what magical effects I have updated, which ones are new, and then I'll kind of just go into it and explain my reasoning for each. So the first one I have here at number 1 is actually the intangible spirit in the which was number 3 in the old table here. So basically you summon an intangible spirit that can look like a flump or a pixie or whatever type of thing you want. It appears in a space within 30 feet of you, and then it explodes in a 5-foot radius. So I kind of updated the wording here. It's still summon it, or you summon it when you activate your rage. So you can immediately do this when you enter your rage, and then you can use a bonus action on subsequent turns, as long as your rage is active, to summon this spirit. You summon it within 30 feet of you, and it explodes in a 5-foot emanation originating from that space that you summoned it in. And then I have you roll a number of d6s equal to your rage damage bonus. That way this ability will scale as you gain levels. So you add those dice together. Each creature in that 5-foot emanation make a strength saving throw, and then if they fail, they'll take force damage equal to the total rolled, and they will gain the prone condition. So I just wanted to make it a little bit more fun. I changed it to a strength save because I wanted to add in a condition that was applied, and I decided to add in the prone condition because that made sense. Especially since it deals force damage, I felt like it was kind of like a forceful explosion. So it kind of made sense for it to prone a target and it deals force damage. So I wanted the dice to scale off a rage damage bonus, and that is something that I've done for every single one of these effects in the table. So you will see that throughout. I don't know how powerful some of these are. I imagine they are relatively minor, but I don't think they're any more powerful than the Berserker Barbarian will be. So I may need help doing the math on these to determine whether or not these need to be nerfed in some capacity, but I tried to make them as close to the original effects as possible with slight upscaling and just scaling in general so that these don't kind of teeter out as you gain levels. So that's the first one that I changed up, was the Intangible Spirit, and I think it's a fun little ability, especially since you can do it multiple times, and it's kind of just a fun little explosive summons that you can do during combat while you're raging. So I think that's kind of fun, and I enjoyed changing that up a little bit. Now, the second one I changed, and I had to do some changes here, is the shadowy tendrils that are here in number 1. This became my number 2 option. So you summon these tendrils when you activate the rage, and you can do it again as a bonus action on subsequent turns while you're raging. So you summon these tendrils, and I had it be in the emanation created by your spell ward. So this will be in that 10-foot emanation. So that was a nice way for me to kind of scale what it affected. And I did that as well. So not only does it scale, but I wanted to limit the radius of it so that it wasn't too overpowered, because also the damage now scales with your rage damage bonus. So that could make the damage potential a little bit higher than it was before, since it was just a D12 previously. Now it's 2d6 starting, so that's slightly different. And now you can also repeat it on subsequent turns as well, so that's kind of a buff to that as well. So I needed to change that up. I still have it be a Constitution saving throw. It is still necrotic damage. However, I did reduce the temporary hit points that you gain down to half the total rolled. And really the main reason behind that was because since this is a 10-foot emanation now, I didn't want this to be a supremely overpowered ability, because already dealing 2d6 damage and being able to repeat that was kind of potent. So I felt like I needed to nerf the ability slightly in order to make it more balanced. So the temporary hit points are now reduced to half the total damage rolled. So that way you're not gaining an exorbitant amount every turn, and it will fluctuate depending on how well you roll with those d6s, and it will still scale up as your rage damage bonus goes up. So it's kind of a give and get, but it does scale now, so I do like the scaling on it. So that is the particular change to that. My third ability was the one listed here at number 4, where you basically infuse one of your weapons that you are holding with magical energy when you activate your rage, and then while the rage is active, you can have that weapon deal your choice of force damage or its normal damage type. The weapon gains the light and thrown properties with a normal range of 20 feet and a long range of 60 feet, and then if you throw the weapon, it will reappear in your hand the instant after it either hits or misses a target. So that's basically the same thing that this does. I just updated the wording a little bit, but it has the exact same functionality, so that is still present there. The fourth option I have states that while your rage is active, whenever a creature hits you with an attack roll, the attacker takes an amount of force damage equal to your rage damage bonus as magic lashes out in retribution. So this is essentially this this fifth ability here. It used to be 1d6. I changed it because I figured it will scale, and then since it isn't once per turn, it is going to be more effective against creatures that have multi-attack, so that will scale lightly as well. And then since it's not a reactionary ability, since it just happens, this is pretty effective. Granted, the damage dealt is not very high, but it will scale up to 4 damage eventually, and it just felt like a natural progression to have it scale off of the rage damage bonus like everything else, so that's why I made that particular change. I'm not sure if everyone will agree with that particular change, but I just like the I like the simplicity of everything scaling off of your rage damage bonus, whether you're rolling dice or if it's just applying the bonus directly to something. So that's my reason for that particular change. The fifth ability is the one where you have flowers and vines grow in an emanation around you. Main changes here is that it is effective. It affects the ground and the emanation created by your spell ward. So it starts as a 10-foot emanation, and then I added in that it is difficult terrain for your enemies. That way, it no longer affects. Well, actually, it does say that it only affected enemies. For some reason, I thought it didn't. I'm probably thinking of the old Oath of Devotion Paladin, no, Oath of the Ancients Paladin, probably. But yeah, that functions that way. It's really just an updated wording of here. And yes, the emanation did decrease to 10 feet, but really the main reason I did that is because I wanted it to scale off of this emanation, which will scale at later levels. So that's the reason for that. Next up here as my number 6 is the teleporting feature, which was here at number 2. Just when you activate your rage and as a bonus action on subsequent turns while your rage is active, you can teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. So this is essentially the exact same. I just updated the wording slightly to make it clear what it does in this rules revision. Next up here at number 7, this is actually which ability is it? It is the number 8, the old number 8 ability, but I have updated it slightly. So still activate it when you rage, and you do it as a bonus action on subsequent turns while the rage is active. The damage now scales to a number of d6s equal to your rage damage bonus. Still has a range of 30 feet. However, I changed it to where now it is a dexterity saving throw instead of a con save. So that's probably an upgrade or a downgrade depending on how you look at it. Should probably be an upgrade considering. But really the main reason I did that as well is because I also changed the additional effect. It's no longer making you blinded. Now it grants the next attack roll against that creature advantage, at least until the start of the Barbarian's next turn. The next attack roll against it has advantage. So I kind of wanted this to be a little bit more akin to a guiding bolt. So it will now scale with damage. It still deals radiant damage, albeit a dexterity saving throw, and now applies advantage to the next attack roll against it as long as that creature fails that saving throw. And you'll also notice here that a lot of these abilities that I have present here they don't do anything if the creature succeeds. The main reason behind that is because the old effects also had that built into them, so they didn't do anything if a creature succeeded. And then I felt like that was a good way to also balance, especially the emanation abilities like the shadowy tendrils and things like that can affect multiple creatures. I figured since they don't do anything if the creature succeeds, that helps balance them more, so I wouldn't have to focus on as much on how much damage they might do, since there is a negative effect to all the creatures just succeeding, then the ability does nothing. But since it only requires you to use a bonus action, that also makes it quite powerful as well, so that was just a way for me to balance it as well. Now, number 8 is a new ability. This is another emanation type thing that scales with your spell ward. Roll number d6s equal to your rage damage bonus. Each creature in the emanation must succeed on a constitution saving throw, or they take cold damage equal to the total rolled, and they have the restrain condition until the start of their your next turn. So that, I just imagine shards of ice exploding out of you and then restraining creatures and dealing cold damage to them. So that's kind of what that does. So that was a fun thing that I added in there. Number 9 here is based off of the old number 6. So basically, you and allies in the emanation created by your spell ward, while your rage is active, gain a +1 bonus to armor class. And then the bonus increases when you reach Barbarian level 10 to +2. Now, the reason I added in a scaling is because everything else is scaling, so I felt like it needed to have a scaling. But I also considered there's nothing in the game that scales up to a +3 bonus currently, so I felt like that needed to be inclusive in this. So while it does scale up to a +2, I decided the midway point that made sense was Barbarian level 10, because not only do you get your midway point of subclass features, it's also the midway point in the entire class at level 10, so it made sense to get an improvement at that particular level. And that is also the reason why I did not include a +3 bonus scaling whenever you reach a higher Barbarian level, because subclass features cap out at level 14, and then it didn't really make sense to me to add in that +3 since there is no precedent in anything else for that to be included. So that's why it only goes up to +2. But it is an AC bonus, and it's active while your rage is active, and it is in that emanation, which is active while you're raging, so I felt like it just made sense for that to be included. So yeah, that's in there. Let's see, my number 10 creates a basically a healing aura, which I thought was a really neat idea to add in. So I added in this healing aura that scales with the emanation created by your spell ward. So whenever you activate your rage, and as a bonus action on subsequent turns while you're raging, you can choose either yourself or one creature in that emanation to regain hit points, and the number of hit points regained is equal to a number of d6s equal to your rage damage bonus, which you then add together. So it's not a whole lot, but it does scale, and I felt like that was just a fun ability, and it should always be useful. So I felt like a restorative ability for the Wild Surge table was kind of cool, so I added that in there. Level 11, I felt like I wasn't done with the elemental one features, so I added in a lightning damage option. So when you activate the rage, and as a bonus action on subsequent turns while raging, you can cause a bolt of lightning to leap from you to a creature of your choice within 30 feet. Number of d6s equal to your rage damage bonus. Add them together. The creature has to succeed on a dexterity saving throw, or it takes lightning damage equal to the total rolled. and it can't make opportunity attacks until the start of your next turn. So there's that additional effect. So I felt like that was fun there. And then my number 12 is basically the ice ability here, but it does fire damage instead. So Emanation, created by the spell ward as the radius. Number d6 is equal to your rage damage bonus. It is a dexterity saving throw, and they take fire damage equal to the total rolled. And they have the blinded condition till the start of your next turn. So that's how I got the blinded condition back in there. I wanted to make sure it was present somewhere, and it made sense with an explosion of fire. You're probably shielding your eyes or something. So that's what I did there. So yeah, I just updated this table to a D12 table because it just made sense to me and allowed me to add in some additional effects that felt fun and did something different. That way you're not kind of bogged down by everything being samey as you are playing the subclass. I wanted there to be quite a variety of things that might happen. So yeah, I increased the table to D12. That way there's just a lot more different things that could happen every time you rage. And I wanted to make sure that all of these abilities were beneficial to yourself and to your party members occasionally. So this is what I ended up with, and I'm quite happy with it. The only thing that I'm not entirely sure about is some of the emanation ones. I feel like some of the emanation ones might be a little bit more powerful compared to the ones that target just a single creature. But let me know what you think in the comments, whether or not I need to change it up slightly, or whether or not you think it isn't really that big of an issue. I don't know. I just had fun updating these, so that's what I ended up with. All right, so now let's move on. Let's talk about bolstering magic. So at level 6, bolstering magic, as a magic action, you can target either yourself or one creature you touch to gain one of the following effects below. And I have this scale off your strength modifier. So you have a number of uses equal to your strength modifier, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Main reason I chose strength was because I changed the saving throw for wild surge to strength, so it just made sense to do that. And the 2024 rules revision update doesn't scale off of doesn't have anything scale off of proficiency bonus anymore, so that did need to be updated. So I chose strength because that just made the most sense out of anything. And then I also updated these abilities slightly. So first one I updated was this one that lets you restore an expended spell slot. So now I just have this allow the creature to regain one expended spell slot of level 3 or lower, and then it gets to choose what level it wants to regain. So that just increases the versatility of that, and it takes away the need for you to have to roll. So I just felt like that was a nice improvement to that feature. And then I also added in this particular part where once the creature receives the benefit, they can't receive it again until they finish a long rest, because yeah, that just makes sure that you don't abuse this ability. And it is a pretty powerful one at that, since it can restore up to a level 3 spell. So yeah, I felt like it's nice to add in a limiter on this particular ability. And then this other option here, Wild Blessing, I had it upgraded slightly. Still lasts for 10 minutes, but now I have it applied to any D20 test, so not just attack rolls or ability checks. And now you add a D4 to the number rolled on the D20, and you do so when the test fails. So this is essentially a non-concentration bless pretty much, but it's kind of an improvement to that as well, since it applies to any D20 test. So this felt like it was okay to add a little bit more power to it, but I may be mistaken with that, but I felt like just changing it up a little bit would make it a little bit more beneficial. And I like features that you only have to worry about when you fail something, because then you aren't bogged down by having to roll the thing constantly to make, or remember to roll it constantly whenever you roll a particular D20 test. So that's why I had that particular change. And since it's such a low die roll, it may not be prevalent at all times, but it will come up occasionally. So that is my particular reason for there. The only change that I might consider, honestly, is taking out the magic action part, considering that the Barbarian can't use magic actions while raging. So that might be a particular change there that might be prevalent. So honestly, that might be a change that you make. Right now I have it listed as a magic action because I imagine the Barbarian using this outside of combat, not in combat, which is why I made that particular change. And it really makes sense because this is a ability that grants a kind of a magical effect. So that's why I have it listed as a magic action, but I can see you not having that be the case. Either way, I felt like these were some nice improvements to this particular feature. Now, unstable backlash, I don't think I actually made any change to this. I just updated the wording slightly. Still requires you to use your action, and then you just roll on the wild surge table and produce the effect rolled, and it replaces your current wild surge effect. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I didn't really do any change here other than update the wording so that it was more in line with how current features are worded in the updated edition. And then I actually did some slight changes here to the 14th level feature. I still have this controlled surge here. I just made it a sub feature to this feature, so that is still present there. Slightly updated wording, but now we have a new level 14 feature called Wild Surge Incarnate. And all I did was I added an additional line here called Greater Spell Ward, and it increases the size of the emanation created by Spell Ward to 30 feet. So now this Spell Ward has increased to a 30-foot emanation, and it now gives the Wild Surge table a nice increase as well, because a lot of things that scaled with that were only in the 10-foot emanation now have that range increased to 30 feet, so that's a nice improvement there. But really that's all I did on upgrading this particular subclass. I'm not sure how I did, so please let me know whether or not you like the changes I made, whether or not you dislike them. Let me know if there's something that you would like changed, or whether or not there are changes that you would have made that I didn't, and whether or not you would fix some of these wild surge effects in a different way than what I did. But really my main goal here when I am redesigning these subclasses for the rules update is I want to make sure they seem balanced. I want to make sure they seem like something that Wizards of the Coast would do. And I want to make sure that the wording fits how things would be updated. And I really just want to make sure that it kind of seems like this is something that would be official. So that is the reason that I kind of do this, is because I want my players to use older content in the rules revision, and some things just need to be updated in order to be on par with some of the new things, and then some things just need to be updated because they no longer work, unfortunately. So that is my particular reasoning for updating Path of the Wild Surge or Path of Wild Magic, rather. Not only changing the name, but updating the features, updating the effects, adding some additional things, and then just making the subclass a lot more fun to use and a little bit more chaotic, so that it kind of feels a lot like the Wild Magic, because that's why we play the Wild Magic Sorcerers, because those of us that do play it, we love the random effects table. So I wanted to give more options on Wild Surge, and I wanted them to scale as well, since there isn't really anything like that in the old version. None of these scale. So I wanted to make sure these were prevalent at all levels of play. So that is the reason for those updates. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you hate it. Let me know if you like it. And yeah, just let me know in general. If you enjoy my videos, please consider joining my Patreon. I have a link to my Patreon in my channel description. You can join for as low as $1, and if you do, you can see my videos early before they're released on YouTube. So that's fun, and yeah, just a nice little benefit. I also have some additional scaling there, but please feel free to take a look and consider if you want to support me on my channel. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate those that watch these videos and leave comments for me to read. I love looking at comments and replying to them as well. So yeah, I just appreciate all your guys' support, and I'll catch you all in the next video. See you later. Bye-bye.